Hours of broadcast, not one person mentioned the reason everyone was actually watching. 1 month before that trophy, Tommy Gainey had been front-page news for something no golfer wants to be known for. Now he was back on television, and television had made a decision: act like it never happened. A man cannot disappear while standing in the winner's circle. But Gal tried anyway. Tommy Gainey was born in 1975 in Darlington, South Carolina. Not the kind of place that produces country club prodigies. He grew up around Bishopville, in a family that worked for a living, not one that paid for private lessons. Golf was not his first sport. Baseball was. He swung a bat before he ever swung a club. And that detail matters more than it sounds, because almost everything unusual about him traces back to it. At 15, he switched to golf and quickly became the best player at his high school. But he brought baseball with him, whether he meant to or not. His grip on full shots is something almost no professional uses. He hooks his top thumb behind his other hand, the opposite of how a right-handed golfer is taught to hold a club. It looks wrong. It has never stopped working. Then there are the gloves, 2 of them, 1 on each hand, every single round, no exceptions. Gainey did not invent this habit, his father did. His father was the one who introduced him to golf in the first place, and his father was the one who always played wearing gloves on both hands. The son simply copied him, and the habit outlived the explanation. Decades later, it would become the only name most fans ever called him. He never had a formal coach, no academy, no swing consultant, no famous mentor. The only instructor Gainey has ever credited is his older brother Alan. Everything else he built on his own. Before Tommy Gainey ever earned a paycheck from golf, he earned one from a factory floor. He worked an assembly line in South Carolina for A.O. Smith Corporation, wrapping insulation around hot water heaters, 12-hour shifts, day after day. There was no golf career waiting for him yet, just a job that paid the bills while he figured out if he had another option. He studied industrial maintenance at Central Carolina Technical College, splitting his time between coursework and factory labor before finally earning his certificate at the end of the decade. Golf happened in whatever hours were left over, evenings, weekends, whatever he could scrape together after a shift. He turned professional in 1997, but turning professional and making a living are 2 different things. For years, he bounced through nearly every mini tour the American South had to offer: small purses, no guarantees, entry fees paid out of his own pocket with money he had just earned wrapping water heaters. These tours do not pay a salary. If a player misses the cut, he still has to cover his own travel, his own hotel, his own next tournament. There is no safety net, only whatever is left in the bank account after the last event. That was the trade Gainey made for years. Factory wages funding a dream that, for a long time, gave him nothing back. In 2005, Tommy Gainey got his first shot at television exposure on the Golf Channel show Big Break. It did not go well. He was eliminated in the 6th episode of Big Break 4, sent home before he ever became a name anyone remembered. He got a second chance in 2007 when the show brought back past contestants for Big Break 7. This time, he won it outright. The victory opened doors that years of mini-tour grinding never had. Exemptions into real professional events, and by the end of that year, a trip through Q School. He played all 3 stages, 14 rounds in total, and finished well enough to earn a PGA Tour card. He became the first Big Break contestant in the show's history to reach the PGA Tour. The reality of the PGA Tour humbled him almost immediately. His first full season, in 2008, was close to a disaster. He made only 5 cuts out of 23 events and sat 228th on the money list. He saved the year at the very last event, closing with a strong final round to finish runner-up at the Disney Classic, 1 shot behind Davis Love III. It was enough to hold on to conditional status. 2009 offered no improvement. He made just 8 cuts out of 15 starts and dropped to 202nd on the money list, losing even his conditional status for the following season. Gainey later admitted what that stretch did to him mentally. "When you go through 2 streaks like that, the first thing on my mind is, Well, am I good enough? He would need 2 more years of grinding on the developmental tour just to find out. On the 21st of October, 2012, Tommy Gainey walked onto the final round of the McGladrey Classic, 7 shots behind the leaders, Jim Furyk and Davis Love III, a combined mix of a major champion and a Hall of Fame level career. Nobody watching that morning expected the leaderboard to end with his name on top. He made 8 birdies in his first 11 holes. By the time he reached the 18th green, he had shot a 10 under 60, needing only 24 trips to the green to complete the entire round, a tournament scoring record that still stands. He even had a chance at 59, the rarest number in professional golf, reached only a handful of times in tour history. His final attempt from about 20 feet slid just right of the target. 59 stayed out of reach. The win did not. He beat David Toms by 1 shot, finishing ahead of both Furyk and Love, who had spent the whole day watching him play catch-up from behind them on the board. In the press room afterward, Gainey summed up exactly what that meant. You got Hall of Famers, you got future Hall of Famers chasing me now. I'm Tommy Gainey, I'm 2 gloves. I shot 60 today. The win carried extra weight because of something that happened the year before. Ahead of a major championship in 2011, Furyk had asked to play a practice round with him. 9 holes in, Furyk told him plainly not to change a thing about his game, that whatever carried him through the mini tours would carry him here too, and that sooner or later it would pay off. A year later, it was Furyk himself chasing Gainey on a Sunday leaderboard. That swing Furyk defended was the same one Golf Channel analyst Brandel Chambly had once mocked on air, describing it as looking like a man trying to kill a snake with a garden hose. Gainey never denied it, never tried to fix it. Standing in the winner's circle with a trophy in his hands, he did not need to. The swing everyone laughed at had just outplayed 2 future Hall of Famers on the same golf course on the same day. The win at McGladrey did not turn into the launching pad most assumed it would be. Injuries followed almost immediately. Gainey started the next season making just 3 cuts out of his first 10 starts, withdrawing twice because his body would not cooperate. He clawed back to a top 10 finish that summer, but consistency never returned the way it had in his best years. By the end of 2014, he had lost his full PGA Tour card. He earned it back, lost it again after 2017, and spent long stretches cycling through the developmental tour, just trying to find his way back to where he had already been. None of it produced another win. Season after season passed with solid finishes, but no trophies, no signature moment, nothing that reminded anyone of that Sunday in Georgia. By early 2020, it had been 8 years since Gainey had won anything on any tour. He was 37 years old, unattached to full status, playing in qualifying events just to stay relevant. To most of the golf world, he had quietly become a name from the past, a trivia answer, not a headline. Then, in 1 month, he became a headline for an entirely different reason. On the 8th of December, 2019, Tommy Gainey was arrested in Polk County, Florida, as part of a large-scale operation targeting prostitution, one that led to over 120 arrests over 6 days. He was charged with a first-degree misdemeanor for solicitation and released the next day after posting bail. At a press conference announcing the arrests, the local sheriff singled him out by name, holding up his booking photo for the cameras and noting that Gainey had been scheduled to tee off in a charity event the next morning. He didn't make it, the sheriff said. He was a scratch. For a month, Gainey said almost nothing publicly. His management team offered no comment. Then, on the 15th of January, 2020, at the Korn Ferry Tour's season opener in the Bahamas, he closed with 3 straight birdies to win by 4 shots. The broadcast covered every minute of it. 4 hours of coverage, and not once did anyone mention the arrest that had made national news 35 days earlier. Not before the round, not during it. Not after he lifted the trophy. Golf journalist Dan Rappaport called out the silence directly. Tommy Gainey was arrested in a prostitution sting 35 days ago. It was national news. Today, he won a significant golf tournament, and the broadcasters didn't mention it one time. Not once during the 4 hours of coverage, not once after he won. Gainey himself only hinted at what he had been through, telling reporters he was working on getting his life back on track. When asked directly about the moment, he offered one line that carried both humility and relief. With the injuries that I've been through, the other troubles that I've had, I'm very lucky and very blessed. Then, holding back tears, he added, "This means everything. My wife, I love her to death. Her and the boys mean everything." The silence was not protection, it was avoidance. Golf had a winner it could not fully celebrate, and a story it did not want to tell, so it chose to tell neither. That instinct would follow Gainey for years after the legal case was resolved. The win in the Bahamas did not erase what happened in December. It only proved that golf, given the choice, always chose silence. The legal case closed quietly in February 2020. Gainey avoided jail entirely, agreeing instead to 11 months of probation, 100 hours of community service, a required class on human trafficking, and fines totaling just over $6,000. In exchange, prosecutors dropped the misdemeanor charge. No suspension from golf followed, no further public reckoning. The story simply ended the way it had been covered from the start, without much said at all. Gainey kept playing, splitting years between the PGA Tour and the developmental circuit, never quite recapturing full status, never quite disappearing either. Then came August 2025 and his 50th birthday, the age that opens the door to the Champions Tour. He arrived there with no card, no exemption, nothing guaranteed. 4 separate times that season, he had to play his way in through open qualifying just to get a tee time. Coming into that 4th attempt, he kept his expectations low. "My goal coming in this tournament was just trying to top 10. It's always to win, but just me doing all these Mondays and having no status, I've got to take it as it comes." The course had not been kind to him before. The last time Gainey had played there, back in 2017, he shot 87 and 84, 2 of the worst rounds of his career. 8 years later, on the same ground, everything turned. In October, at the Constellation Furyk and Friends, Gainey erased a 4-shot deficit on the final day, closing with a 66 that included a long eagle from off the green. He won by 2, becoming